so you got to pay attention to those divine directives so that you can begin to move in the direction of your destiny, and you can step into the thing that you were created and born to do. And then in part 3 of the series, we delve into direction and the power of direction in our lives. So many people in the world today, they can't put it into words. But as a gifted communicator, I'm able to put it into words for them. They're looking for direction in their lives. You know, they'll ask you a lot of different questions about, I don't know what I'm here for. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I should be doing with my life. But what it really boils down to at the cellular level is that most people don't have an understanding of the direction that their lives should be taking. And so what we do is we begin to, because we don't understand that, we begin to live in the narrative of somebody else's expectations of what our lives should be. We live in the prison of other people's opinions of who and what we should be doing with our lives. And so what we do, we go on this vain, trivial quest of trying to please everybody, trying to make everybody happy, trying to be all things to all people, only to get back to that space within ourselves that I call your inner space or your inner world, and to discover that none of those things make us happy, none of those things bring fulfillment to our lives. They just simply appease all of the people in our lives. And then once we've gotten through all of that, we come back to, as I talk about in my book, Significance, that place of emptiness within ourselves where we realize that we are not understanding our worth or value, and we know deep in ourselves that there's a greater contribution that we've been called to make in the world, but we don't know how to do it. And so what has to happen is you have to begin to give language to the inner space of what's happening on the inside of you. Let me try to break that down more simplistically. In other words, David says in the book of Psalms, I believe it's 139, he says that you know my substance when I was being wrought or created in the deepest parts of the earth or the world. In other words, David is saying that God knows that inner space. God knows that reserved space, that space within ourselves that we restrict this three-dimensional world from accessing, but it in essence is the truth of who we are and the core and the center of who we are in our lives. And that's the place where so many people are unfulfilled in their lives because they tried to fill that space with all of this superficial stuff. And what I've discovered over 3 decades of life is that that space is reserved for significance in our lives. You can't fill it with a relationship. You won't be able to fill it with cars and materialistic things. It is an eternal space that remains empty without the invitation of eternity to take residence in it. And so what you give language to is that emptiness and that profound inadequacy that resides on the inside of the human soul that is seeking expression. And so we delve into our direction in our lives and moving our lives in the direction of our prophetic destinies and futures so that we can do meaningful and significant things in the world. And that brings me naturally to the last part of this series today, which is the law of discernment. Okay, let me try to unpack this because I just got really heavy talking about that inner space and significance, which is really deep and beyond what we can even go into on a podcast. That's why I wrote the book Significance, because I'm trying to give language to the broken parts of humanity that need to be healed and brought to wholeness. And so we're delving into the last part of this, the path daring to manifest your destiny. And I want to talk with you for a few moments about discernment. Why is this so important? The difference in moments in your life is your ability to perceive a new season. I want you to get that. The difference in moments in your life is your ability to perceive a new season. Perception is not only the thing that brings you into an understanding of the difference of moments, but perception is the key to possessing everything that has been promised and destined for your life. And so a lot of people over the years have asked me, they have emailed me, they have tweeted me, they have direct messaged me, and they say it in different ways because, as I say, everybody is not gifted in communication and articulation of speech. But in essence, what people are asking for is what is the key to success and prosperity in life. And while there's a lot of things that I could tell you, discipline, dedication, prioritization, mental work, inner healing, personal development, self-empowerment, so many different pillars and aspects. But the one answer that I give often that leaves me dumbfounded is this. So one of the greatest keys to your success in life is your ability to discern moments of opportunity. It does no good for you to write down copious notes and to fill notebooks with a myriad of concepts and ideas and still lack the ability to discern important moments of opportunity in your life. The difference in seasons lies in your ability to perceive moments of opportunity in your life. Why is this so important? Because stagnation happens in our lives when we lack the ability to make important shifts and turns. Write that down. Stagnation happens in our lives when we lack the ability to make important shifts and turns. And so what happens is it's time for a season in our life to change. But because we are so resistant to change in our lives, we go on repeating the same patterns and cycles over and over, only to get to the end of that place and the end of ourselves realizing that we're in exactly the same place where we started and that we have not made any progress in our lives. And then when we begin to look back in, retrospection on that season and moment, we realize that we were presented with the opportunity to make a shift, to make a different decision, to move in a different direction, but we didn't seize it. And what happens is the less we key in on that perception and discernment, the more desensitized we become to perceiving new seasons in our lives. I want you to get that. The more we ignore, the more we push to the side, the more we go on doing what we've always done, the more we become desensitized seizing those new moments of opportunity in our lives. And so at one time, you could discern this is an opportunity, this is a moment, this is something I need to act on right now. But the more you suppress that on the inside, the less obvious, the less observant you become to those opportunities and things that are trying to unfold in your life. And so then you'll have the person that will say, I don't have any opportunities or, no doors or anything are opening for me. What they don't realize is that about 10 to 15 doors have tried to open to you, but you did not perceive those moments of opportunity in your life. Now, it's a whole lot of reasons why we don't always perceive those moments of opportunity in our lives. One of the number one reasons that we don't perceive those moments of opportunities or discern them is because we are dealing with an unrenewed mind. We're dealing with an unrenewed mind, and because our psychological construct is wrong, we begin to frame our world in prophetic restrictions and prophetic limitations. And so until you begin to do the inner work on the mental muscle, some opportunities you will never perceive. Another reason that we don't perceive those opportunities in our lives is because not only do we have an unrenewed mind, but we have an unhealthy soul. And when I'm talking about your soul, I'm talking about not just the mental space, but I'm talking about the health of your emotions, the strength of your relationships, the refinement of your character, the inner work that needs to take place in you. And most of all, I'm dealing with the insignificance factor. And the insignificance factor is the greatest barrier that will hold you back. I know it was one of the greatest barriers for me because you don't feel good enough, you don't feel prepared, you don't feel like you have what you need to do what you need to do. And so as long as we're wrestling with that feeling and we're never moving into the things that we want to do, it's going to cause you to be frustrated, and it's going to keep your life in a holding pattern going nowhere. So we